Bill Oddie, comedy, music, and birds. Welcome to Mark and Pete. He made Britain laugh, he taught it to sing, and then persuaded it to stop and listen to the birds. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
He was known by everybody, though his appearance was sometimes shoddy. His comedy was rife, he adored wildlife. Now nest in peace, Bill Oddie.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, he was a wildlife fanatic, but Bill Oddie has sadly passed away at the age of 85. Now,
Yes.
what's remarkable about Bill Oddie is the talent that he had. He started his career as a writer and as a performer in the 1970s in the zany TV comedy trio The Goodies.
Yeah.
That's certainly where I first came across Bill Oddie. But of course, his career went on. And one of the things that's really key to his knowledge was his love of wildlife. Now, Mr. Pete, we all know Bill Oddie. We've loved him as a celebrity. But what are your lasting memories of this great entertainer?
Well, interestingly, I remember him being on panel shows towards the end of his career and getting really ticked off that the other people weren't very funny. And so the thing is, that would have been irritating and big-headed, except for the fact that he was right. I remember him singing in humorous songs and dashing around enthusiastically with his mass of hair. I remember him having
beard.
some of the most ridiculous comedy lines, including one where he refused to reveal his belly button. You'll have to watch the entire Goodies episodes to look at that, folks, if you want to see that comedy episode. And I remember him, of course, in his massive enthusiasm for nature and for birds, as I'm, a bit of an ornithologist myself. So, yeah, great memories. Can't just pick out one, but yes, he had. I was a big fan, of course. Big fan of many people on this show, but I was definitely a big fan of Little Bill Oddie.
Well, yes, and what's interesting is that Bill Oddie was a writer. So a lot of the
Yes,
things that
yeah.
you actually saw on the screen were written by Bill himself. Now, he had also a passion, probably a secret one, to be a sort of a pop star at the time. Most notably, Do the Funky Gibbon.
Yes, classic. Yes.
Which, as the title says.
I'll just pause you
sense of
there. I know
humour.
you're going to run through a few things. Just pause you there. But even just saying that title, brilliantly written, because you just smile when you hear it said. So just
Yes.
brilliant writing as well.
They don't make it out like that anymore.
No.
But as his agent has said, Bill was a multi-talented celebrity, a wildlife presenter, broadcaster, comedian, songwriter, musician, conservationist. Now, what a breadth of depth for the
Yes.
idea that you could go from being on top of the pops to being out in the countryside trying to spot
A particular bird, yeah.
a particular bird, whether it be something where he was on shows such as Spring Watch. And for those people who are not familiar with the BBC's program, it's probably one of the most iconic programs because it touched upon so much of Britain's wildlife.
It was event television as well, wasn't it? With live coverage of, for example, the inside of a nest. Who'd have thought that would be just what's the word? Just compulsory viewing. That's the word. Who'd have thought it would be compulsory viewing? But yet, partly because of enthusiasm, but of course, it's just a great idea. It's great television.
Yes, and I think that the one thing as well, which harps back to some of what I'll call his great achievements. One of the things he actually admitted himself was there was a particular show called The Goodies, and they had a scene around Northerners called the Ecky Thump. Unfortunately, what was noted was that people actually genuinely died laughing watching it. And nobody really wants anybody to die. But one of the things that Bill said himself was that he was proud of the fact that it was one of the lasting moments of a person's life that they died laughing.
Yes, good way
which
to
isn't
go.
usually the case. Exactly, that was the point. So he had a sort of a quirky sense of humor. Now, the other thing as well, which I would say, is that he I was absolutely amazed at how much he knew about bird and wildlife,
Yes.
because he was a writer. So he really had that talent. He could put all of his thoughts to words, and so he
Mhm.
actually published a lot of books. What I would say is this: if you do happen to sort of check him online, you will see that he was also noted at this time as being a bit of a rebel. Now, you don't
Yeah.
tend to sort of think of a birdwatcher and a sort of a BBC presenter thinking that, but when he started his career with his sort of bearded, tousled look, he was seen as a bit of an upstart. And I think that what's interesting is he always challenged authority. That was the thing that seemed to come through almost everything. He challenged anything that he didn't like.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
he had a confidence about him, shall we say?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think uh, this, looking back on his life, this passion for whatever whatever he was involved in, if that's not right, it's not right. It has to be stopped. Birds have to be protected. They're wonderful. Look at them. This is funny. I'm going to make you laugh. And listen to this beautiful music that I've created. The enthusiasm for life. Just you know it's just wonderful to look back at it. We're having a good time talking about it. When someone's died, obviously we're sad that he's died. But if you can look back into his life with this much enthusiasm, that's a great life. Matthew chapter 6, verse 26, just a quote from the Bible here, says, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow nor reap nor store away barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them." God looks down on birds, but also on uh, the the beautiful plumage, if you like, the just metaphorically speaking, of Bill Oddie, and with great pleasure, I think someone who lived life to the full and shared it with the rest of us. What a great testimony to be able to look back on your life and see what he he has contributed. Died at 85, so a good innings, but boy did he pack stuff in.
Well, I mean, I agree, and then what's incredible is how he has sort of managed to continue his career into ways that you wouldn't normally expect, because he was also a former vice president of the RSPCA. So, for anybody who's not familiar, that's the Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Now, to get to that kind of status for something which is an institute which is wildly and in fact internationally recognized is a great achievement. So when you think about it, there are very few artists or entertainers or even celebrities that have covered such a wide spectrum of subjects. I would
Yes.
have to say that maybe when we sort of think about Bill's career, you have to think, what a great talent. I
Mm.
can't think of anybody else who's managed to cross over so many different disciplines. What say you about that?
Yes, the breadth of talent is extraordinary, especially when you remember for the comedy you had of the goodies. You have tremendous actors who were with him in that trio, but he was the one who's writing this stuff. Incredible contribution. I think Graham Garden also who was a writer, was credited with writing as well. But for the music, that was all down to Bill Oddie. So it's uh, being able to do that and his tremendous knowledge. You're quite right. I was a bit of a keen ornithologist in my youth, but uh, uh, but that means I can appreciate the depth of knowledge and breadth of knowledge that he had of birds and wildlife. And so when he spoke from knowledge on all those three areas. And here's the thing, Mr. Mark, which I don't know if listeners will know this, but if you just think about what I'm interested in, comedy and uh, including comedy songs. But I'm interested in comedy. I'm interested in broadcasting, and I'm interested in nature, nature walks, and was a very keen bird watcher. So, you know. He lived sort of like my life is like a pale shadow of what Bill Oddie managed to do in his life. So incredible the breadth of just the subjects he touched on.
Well, as a family man as well, he sort of leaves, a daughter, Rosie, and he also, with his first wife, had who was the singer and actress Jean Hart,
Mhm.
had two daughters, Bonnie and Kate. So he is as a person, he really fulfilled such a great deal in what really is for some, just one of those disciplines alone would have been a great
Yes.
accolade. But I think that we can safely say that in a world that is going through some troubled times, we can certainly say Bill was a great talent, but ultimately he was a goodie.